So I just saw Captain Marvel, and it was kinda lame. It wasn't the worst thing ever, it just wasn't really good. Man, I'm so excited to be talking about another movie where everyone obsesses over the politics behind the film and not the actual filmmaking itself. Apparently there's some people boycotting and review bombing this movie because Brie Larson hates men or something. I don't know, I usually think it's a pretty good idea to separate art from the artist. I mean, a lot of other people worked on this movie too. That being said, Brie Larson was not good in this movie. And I think it's mostly to do with the writing more than anything else. I don't know anything about the comic books, and to be perfectly honest, I didn't even know this character existed until Marvel decided to make her a movie person. But based on what was shown in the film, she's just a really lame, uninteresting character. Even from the trailer, it was painfully obvious just how vacant and uncharismatic she is. She's less of a character and more of a blank slate. She's basically a nothing. And yeah, I get that some of the people making the same criticism are nerd bro man babies, but that doesn't make the criticism any less valid. Her character is painfully uninteresting, and it was really difficult to give a shit about anything that was happening. The worst part of the film was the main character, and that's not really a good thing. There were many attempts at humor, but the only genuine laughs I got were not intended by the film. There were setups for jokes that were just so painfully obvious it was infuriating. And when I say painfully obvious, I mean that it almost feels wrong for me to be putting up a spoiler warning for this, but okay, here you go. Here's your warning, 3, 2, 1. So throughout the course of the film, Sam Jackson is obsessing over this CG cat. It's not CG in every shot, but when it is, it's really obvious and distracting. At one point, there's an alien guy who's really scared of this cat, and he's like, oh, I don't know what a cat is. That's not a cat. It's a insert weird alien species name here thing. Later, some aliens put a muzzle on the kitty because they think it's dangerous, and it's supposed to be really funny because it's just a little kitty. And then later, it turns out that the cat really was a dangerous alien. Haha, that was a great joke. I couldn't have seen that coming. It was so unpredictable. This is literally the exact same thing I was talking about in my game night review. Remember this for next time, folks, because those are the rules. If a character's talking about something that nobody believes exists and they make sure to mention it a second time in the film, it's a pretty fucking obvious setup. So that was just dumb. I guess since we're in spoiler territory, I'm just gonna mention a couple other things before getting back to the other aspects of the film. So there are these aliens that can transform into whatever they want, and at some point in the film, they become friends with Captain Marvel. Jude Law is a bad guy, and he's trying to hunt down Captain Marvel, and he doesn't know where she is. So when he goes to find her, one of the transformation aliens is just hanging around pretending to be her, and he's like, psych, I'm not Captain Marvel. She's already gone to do the thing that you don't want her to do, because she got some new information, so you can't stop her. She's already on her way. And then Jude Law kills him. But was there any reason why you needed to be there pretending to be Captain Marvel? Why didn't you just also not be there? Isn't it the slightest bit counterproductive to let the villain know where she's gone? If you hadn't been there pretending to be Captain Marvel, then he might not know where she actually was. He might have continued searching other places on Earth, but you kind of just told him what she's doing. Why? The film was also incredibly tonally inconsistent. They spend the entire movie building up Captain Marvel as a super important character in a super serious movie, and then we get to this big fight scene that they've been building up to, and they play just a girl by no doubt. What the fuck? It would make a lot more sense if the entire film was presented as this Guardians of the Galaxy type thing, but it wasn't at all. So the choices in this scene felt like they came out of nowhere. If her character was written as some lovable, dopey, dumb goof, then sure, this could have worked, but they instead spend the entire movie insisting on how important and serious she is. It did not make any sense. There are several points in the movie where she uses random wires that she got from Radio Shack to be able to hack a payphone so that she can communicate to spaceships. Not sure how any of that worked, but okay. There are some aspects I enjoyed about the film. I enjoyed the production design when it came to recreating the 90s. I felt as though the story taking place in the 90s made things a bit more interesting. And I guess a big factor is that in those scenes, the environments feel real. In those scenes, it actually feels as though we're watching a movie and not just hanging out in green screen land. Obviously, I cannot say that about the whole film, and the first 10 to 20 minutes honestly felt like I was watching some shitty sci-fi TV movie. I know this isn't the first Marvel movie to have alien characters that just look like regular people wearing masks, but they're pretty present in this film in particular, and unfortunately there's no point where I can look at them and seriously believe that it's an alien species. So that's annoying. The makeup and probably also CG on Sam Jackson, making him look young, was really confusing convincing. I really enjoyed that aspect, and it was pulled off really well, although there were definitely moments in his physical performance that reminded me that he is in fact a 70-year-old man. He kneels down to pet the kitty and he gets up really slowly. Perhaps they should have used a double there like they did with his stunts. Overall, I enjoyed Sam Jackson's character in this movie, and he did a good job performing him, but unfortunately there's other actors in this film that were not so great, namely the child actor. She was not convincing in the slightest, and her mom was not that great either. Once again, the writing in this film kinda sucks, so who knows whose fault that really is. There's a scene on a train where she starts fighting someone and then other passengers start to restrain her, but these guys restraining her don't even say anything and they just hold on this shot really awkwardly. Nobody seems like a real person. These were clearly movie extras who were not given clear direction. Unfortunately, this film does not do a very good job at effectively communicating the seriousness and importance of this main character, so it just repeatedly insists it instead. Nah, see, you don't understand. Captain Marvel is the most important Avenger, and literally everything is because of her, and she's the most important, and let's retcon this a little. It would be perfectly okay if any of this felt genuine, but it's just so clearly forced. When you leave Disney to pull off something like this, it only just winds up coming off as a caricature of a story. There are several montages in the film that show Captain Marvel being told by men to stay out of male-dominated spaces, and because this is Disney and they don't understand subtlety and none of this is actually genuine, it just winds up coming off as a borderline parody. I shit you not, there's a dude bro in the flight academy being like, hey, you gotta get out of here, you know why they call it the cockpit, right? It was pretty funny. Now, I know that there are people out there that exist that are essentially just arguing against this film because they've found more elaborate ways to say girls bad, and those people are dumb. That being said, that doesn't make this a good movie. Regardless of the character's gender, she was just poorly written and uninteresting. And what more could you seriously expect from a Marvel Disney film? I'm not really a big fan of superhero movies in the first place. I don't watch every Marvel movie that comes out. My friend wanted to see this one so he could get context for Avengers Endgame, and so I decided to watch it too, and he was fairly disappointed. If you're only watching this movie because you're expecting some context for the next Avengers movie, then probably just skip it. But if you really, really, really love everything superhero and there's no such thing as a bad superhero movie to you, then probably check it out. As for me, this is not exactly my cup of tea. I wish that this were a better film with better characters, better acting, better environments, etc., but it's not. The music was passable, but at times it felt like it was ripping off the Mass Effect soundtrack. And that's about all I have to say about this movie. There are some aspects that I enjoyed, but overall, nah. And I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10.